Hey there, it's Workbench Quagmire, back with our free code camp Python certification in 100-ish days. It is day 95, and we're going to be covering the work with if, elif, and else statements through the Boolean Operators and Short-circuiting section. So let's get started here. Working with if, elif, and else statements. If statements, these are conditions used to determine if something is true or not. If the condition evaluates to true, then that block of code will run. So here's an example of that. Age 18. If age is greater than or equal to 18, print you are an adult. Should print you are an adult, and it does. elif clause, these are conditions that come after an if statement. If the elif condition evaluates to true, then the block of code will run. So it's basically the same situation. So in this case, age is 16. If age is greater than 18, it would print you are an adult, but since it's not, it does not run that code block. The elif age is greater than or equal to 13, it'll print you are a teenager, which it does. Is an example of an else clause. The else clause will run with no other conditions if no other conditions evaluate to true. So in this case, our age is 12. It's not greater than or equal to 18. It's not greater than or equal to 13. So we should see you are a child, which we do. You can also have nested if statements. So in this case, we have the variable is citizen equals true, age equals 25. If is citizen, so in this case true, yep, that evaluates to true. And then the next one is if age is greater than or equal to 18, which is also true, it'll print you are eligible to vote. Else it will print you're not eligible if either of those are false. So we see it prints you are eligible. Up next, we're going to cover truthy values. So in this case, I'm not going to run anything. Truthy and falsy values, definition in Python, every value has an inherent Boolean value or built-in sense of whether it should be treated as true or false in a logical context. Many values are considered truthy, that is, they evaluate to true in a logical context. Others are falsy, meaning they evaluate to false. Here's some examples. So none, false, those are falsy. Integer 0 is false. Float 0 is false. And an empty string also evaluates as a falsy value. Other values with non-zero numbers and non-empty strings are truthy. So if there was anything within the string, or this was 1, 1.0, that sort of thing, they would be truthy. Up next, we have Boolean, working with the bool function. And so if you want to check whether a value is truthy or falsy, you can use the built-in bool function. It explicitly converts a value to its Boolean equivalent and returns true or false, depending on if it's a truthy value or a falsy value. So we have some examples here. We see here the bool value of false is false, the bool value of 0 is false, and the bool value of empty string is false, just like we talked about in our truthy and falsy section. And then our bool of true is true, bool of 1 is true, and bool of hello is also true. So we see those evaluate correctly in the terminal here. Up next, we have Boolean Operators and Short-circuiting. So these special characters are special operators that allow you to combine multiple expressions to create more complex decision-making logic in your code. There are 3 Boolean operators in Python: and, or, and not. The AND operator takes 2 operands and returns the first operand if it is falsy. Otherwise, it returns the second operand. So both operands must be truthy for an expression to result in a truthy value. So in this case, we have is citizen true and age is 25. So we know that is citizen is true, and age is also going to evaluate as a truthy value. So it'll return 25. You can use the AND operator in conditionals like this. So here we have is citizen and age greater than 18. So is this true and true? In this case, it'll evaluate, both will evaluate true, and we will get you are eligible to vote. Otherwise, we get the else statement. There you go. So you're eligible to vote. So the OR operator returns the first operand if it's truthy. Otherwise, it returns the second operand. An OR expression results in a truthy value if at least one operand is truthy. So our example is age is 19, is employed equals false. If one of these is truthy, then it'll return whichever one's truthy first. So in this case, age is 19. And so we should see 19 being returned, which we do. Just like with the AND operator, you could use the OR operator in conditionals. So we've got 19 as our age and true as a student. And so if age is less than 18, which is false, or is student, which is true, you are eligible for a student discount. So this is what should be returned because one of those values is truthy. Otherwise, if neither of them were truthy, then they would print this last line. So we get you are a student, you are eligible for a student discount. Right, short-circuiting. Let's talk about that real quick. The and or operators are known as short-circuit operators. Short-circuiting means Python checks the values from left to right and stops as soon as it determines the final result. So like we talked about before, if you have an and the first value is falsy, then it will stop there. The same with an or. If the leftmost leftmost value is truthy, it will stop there. So, and return those values. So, the not operator takes a single operand and inverts its Boolean value. It converts truthy values to false and falsy values to true. And unlike previous operators we looked at, not always returns true or false. There are some examples. So we have our examples here. So we can see, we know that an empty string is falsy, but we apply the not operator to it and it converts it to true. This is truthy and it's applied the not, it's false. 0 is falsy, true. 1 is truthy, false. So these are just inverting the values that are already calculated through the truthy and falsy situation. And here is our example. So is admin equals false if is, so that we know this is false. Not false is true. So if true, this is true, print access denied for non-administrators. Otherwise, we would print this welcome administrators line. So you can see there, we've inverted the truthy falsy value to get our to determine which line is going to run in our if-else statement. So that's all for today. Thanks for watching the video. Next time we'll talk about Python lists, list methods, tuples, tuple methods. We'll see that how far we get there. I think we're getting close to the point where we're going to overrun, because we've got a lot of things to cover here in our review, and these videos are pretty lengthy. This one's a little bit shorter than yesterday's, but it's taken quite a bit of time to get through all this stuff. So I think we are going to overrun our 100 days. So 100-ish days it is. So thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.